Hello, everybody. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. Very, very excited today. I am chatting with legendary guitar player Chuck Lenihan of course, Carnivore AD, as well as Vasaria, and then the mighty, legendary Crumbsuckers. Chuck, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Victor. Nice to see you, man.
How you
Thanks for
doing?
having me.
Yeah. Thanks
Doing
for being
good.
on.
Doing good.
Excellent.
Ah,
Excellent.
my pleasure. My pleasure. You had Baron and you had Joe. I
Yeah.
kind of pawned them off to you. And I was next up, so
Yes.
here I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah. I've yeah. With interviewing you, I've interviewed everybody from Carnivore AD, which is very exciting for me. Because yeah, what a great band and what a great tribute to that legacy. I think what you guys are doing is crucially important to that scene, and also just kind of paying respects to Pete and what he was
Yeah,
able to
absolutely.
create. I think that's really cool what you guys have done. Continuing that movement, continuing the band, and really, yeah, just paying tribute to that music from that time, that era. I think that's amazing. And I know we were chatting prior to the interview. I know you guys just played this past weekend, played a show there in New York, and you did a set, Typo negative set, which I thought which is really cool. How was that? What prompted that? And
It,
um,
what prompted it was we were just asked. We were asked, and we decided to book it. I mean, people have been talking about it here and there. I mean, it has come up. Oh, you should do some Typo songs, and we were thinking the Slow, Deep, and Hard record was more of a like the third Carnivore record in a way,
mm,
And so we were thinking we would tap into some of that material. We have done the intro to Zero Tolerance uh, in a few shows, and that's always been just like a little taste of the Typo material, and we just decided that it was something we should try, and we had a keyboardist. We have the keyboardist from Vasaria, Evan Struma,
mm.
and it's just something that we were able to put the pieces together on it and make sense of it. The show was great. The show was it went off. It was high energy and maybe a little faster speed than I was used to hearing with Typo Negative, but it was great, man. It had a lot of great energy, and Baron did a great job on the vocals,
Yeah,
and we were firing on all cylinders. It
yeah.
was it was a good show. It was a quick show too. It was about 35 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So those are sometimes you don't have to commit too much on a little bit of a shorter show. Um, so you can kind of dive in and get out and come out the other side, hopefully in one piece.
Yeah. I saw that,
Yeah.
speaking of that show, I saw Baron posted a video that somebody from the audience had taken, and, just with a phone, but it sounds great. You guys are so tight. And yeah, like you said, you've really captured that Typo negative sound, but it's a little faster, a little more thrashy. I loved it. I thought it was really incredible. And again, yeah, what a great tribute to Pete and his music. And it just was, yeah, just so fun. It was so high energy. And it was, yeah, watching it was like, God damn, I wish I was there. Like, I wish I had seen that show.
I
Like,
wish you were
what a,
there too. It was
yeah,
it, it was it was really I didn't quite know what to expect, but the crowd ate it up, and um we came in, under the guise of just we're gonna knock these songs out, and then the stage just offered this whole other kind of concept, with an audience and actually presenting this material and trying to do it justice and honor the legacy that Pete and the guys created. I mean, it was a special moment. It really was. It's something I won't forget for a long time.
nice. Um,
Yeah.
I was curious, and I know when I chatted with Baron and Joe, they touched on this as well. But I was kind of as far as Carnivore AD goes, kind of when did your involvement start? How did that happen? How did you get involved with the project?
I've been friends with Baron since, man, I met him in 1985 when he was in Sheer Terror and I was in Crumbsuckers, and we met at the hardcore matinees at CB's, and we became friends, and it's just something we had some projects that we did, and we did through the 90s and various and different things, and when I saw that he was doing Carnivore AD with Mark, and which was a great lineup, and then Mark left the band. Mark left the band, and so I got a phone call, and it was a no-brainer, man. I mean, I've always been a fan of Carnivore, and I watched them, develop and grow in the early days, and it was sort of a no-brainer, you know.
Nice.
It was a phone call.
That's cool.
You know?
Yeah. So I was curious if you could take me back to those early days, the mid 80s, that scene, because you mentioned you already knew Baron. I'm not sure if you and Joe already knew each other, but I think a lot of you guys kind of ran in some of the similar circles at least, and played a lot of shows at like CBGB's and there's that legendary club there in New York. I can't even think of, is it in Brooklyn? The
L'Amour's.
L'Amour's. Yeah. And so, Whiplash and Crumbsuckers and, all these great bands, Nuclear Assault and all those bands from that era. So did you have a sense, and I always ask this question, especially from, musicians from that era of thrash and crossover music. I'm always curious if you had a sense of kind of what was truly happening at that time, or if you were just kind of caught up in this is what we do, this is kind of how we play, or did you realize that something big was kind of happening at that time?
Man, I had no idea. We were just doing what we do. We wanted to play. Everybody wanted to play, and we were driven. We were driven, and we had ideas about things that we wanted to do. But the way that everything is looked on now, when you look back, I mean, of course, we had no idea that these things were going to happen. I mean, I remember seeing Pete walk around in '85, and it was just so odd to see somebody that tall back then. I mean, now that may be a little bit more common, but back then it was just such a striking thing to witness. I mean, I hope that makes sense, but it was just something that you didn't normally see.
Well, and I never met him, obviously, but just any sort of footage or photographs or anything, he had this very larger than life presence, it seemed like. He always had a very intense, there was this intensity about him, I think. And then the fact that he was 100 feet tall too. I mean, that's this intense look. He's incredibly tall.
I remember him being a very nice, polite person. I mean, he was always very friendly and courteous, and intense in the same breath. I mean, he did have that maybe that natural command. When somebody walks into a room and you're kind of like, oh, who's this guy? I mean, of course, it was kind of hard to. It's kind of hard to get around that when you're somebody's 6'7".
Yeah, exactly.
It's just what it is. And I mean, and of course, his band was amazing. Carnivore was, I mean, to see them in CBGB's in the early days was just, it was wonderful. It was just such a, I mean, we played shows with them many times, and they were always so intense.
That's cool. That's really cool. It's interesting to me. Well, and I think it's a testament to the talent and the drive that the Crumbsuckers had. All of you in that band. It's interesting to me that the impact, and especially, I mean, here's a band who only put out 2 full albums. I mean, there were demos and there were compilation albums, but as far as only 2 studio albums, and they're still talked about today. Continually with reverence. Musicians, thrash musicians, other metal musicians, you know, talking about that, the influence that the Crumbsucker albums had on them. And it's interesting, you know, you would, you know, just 2 albums, but this wonderful material that has persevered. And did you, I would imagine your younger self, would you even think like, wow, you know, 40 years later, people are still obsessed with Crumbsuckers? It, you know, songs that you guys wrote back then.
I mean, if I could have seen myself today, the way with the beard and everything, you know, back then, I mean, I would have just thought, you know, it was like, you know, it just was inconceivable, you know. I mean, somebody in their 30s was old to me back then,
Right.
you know. I mean, we were just kids, you know, and you know, like I said, we just had a lot of drive and a lot of fire, and we enjoyed being together and creating music, and it was always rewarding to have, you know, like some kind of an audience to respond to that.
Mm.
And I think a lot of that had to do with it, you know. I mean, you know, we just were in the right place at the right time, you know. And it's amazing to me to have still have people talk about those records.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, there's so much great stuff out there, but it's nice to it's nice to be, you know, to be reminded of those things. I always appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, and it was it was really cool, I thought, and well, frustrating for me, but it was really cool just in terms of the band. I know probably might have been last year. I think it was 2021. I don't know, was it Combat or Metal Blade? I can't remember. Who re-released Life of Dreams
Combat.
on yeah, Combat on vinyl, and I think there was splatter vinyl, and I really wanted it, and it sold out so fast. I didn't get a copy of it. So
Yeah.
I have my old copy, but I wanted that. And like, oh, damn it. Like, so I'm hoping it'll come out again. But yeah, it's
I
sold
want
out
that
immediately.
too. I don't have that.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like one too.
Yeah. You and I will have to get in touch with Combat and, you know, put us on the short list. We want this album. So yeah, I thought that was, yeah, it's great that and I think it's probably been remastered. Like, I have to get my hands on this. Yeah. You know,
I didn't know it was remastered.
I might be wrong. I could be wrong on that, but I know it was, you know, it's on the splatter vinyl. I'm like, I have to own this.
Yeah.
I've got to find it somewhere. So I've been scouring and keeping an eye out, but it's, you know, I think that and the original album, you know, are collector's items with a lot of people. And, you know, I've looked on, you know, Discogs and a couple other sites, and yeah, people are selling them for quite a bit of money. You know, they're worth some dough, which is great, you know, because again, it's, you know, such an influential and profoundly powerful band that you guys were in, and created some really amazing music that has influenced me personally in a lot of ways, you know, especially my younger self, and continues. You know, I still get so much joy out of listening to those 2 albums. You know, they're so fun. Wow. And I think one of the things I loved about Crumbsuckers too was there was a nice balance of, you know, social criticism and humor, but then also some very poignant, you know, political criticisms and socio-political criticisms of, you know, kind of, you know, which I thought was what made the band so great, and I think influenced a lot of bands after that, especially the New York thrash scene. You know, like we mentioned, you know, like Nuclear Assault, some bands like that, I think were heavily influenced by Crumbsuckers. So yeah, great, such great stuff.
We used to hang out with those guys all the time.
Oh, nice. Very cool. How did you originally get involved with Crumbsuckers? Because you know, you were founding member. You were one of the, you know, you guys. And did you all grow up together? Or?
I wasn't so much a founding member. I mean, Gary was the founding member, and then he had Dave Nguyen in the band, and Dave Brady, the original lyricist, who wrote a lot of those great lyrics, those political lyrics that were they had like a little kitsch to them. Yeah. So around after graduating high school in '83, I went down to Florida to work with my father, and I hated it. I hated Florida at the time. I just did not want to be down there. It was hot. It just wasn't for me. And so I made my way back to New York in around September of '84, and I had known the guitar player David Nguyen from we had the same social studies class in 10th grade at Baldwin High School, and so I was back, and I had sharpened my skills on the guitar quite a bit down in Florida. Actually, I was made friends with this kid out of North Miami. This kid David Perdue, rest in peace. He was just somebody, just one of those guys, man. He just had all the chops, and he shared a lot of ideas with me and inspired me to, you know, kind of become a better guitar player. And so I worked hard at it for a long time. And anyway, so when I got back to New York, I was looking for a guitar teacher, and Rob Kobler, who played on Beast on My Back, had put out an ad. I had never met him, and we ended up hooking up. He came over to give me some lessons, and when he had pulled up, I came outside to meet him, and just at that point, Dave Nguyen happened to be making deliveries for the pharmacy he was working for.
Oh wow!
And so we saw each other, and it had been a long time. He didn't know that I was back, and anyway, so we connected, and we all went up. He just came up with us, and we were handing the guitar around. And he said, "Yeah, we're looking for another guitar player." And I had never heard of the Crumbsuckers. They were just kind of a local band at the time, and I think I got a tape from Dave Brady after that. Like, he sent Dave Brady over with a tape, and I learned some of the songs, and I came in just on fire. And I met Gary and Danny that day, and by the end of, we were just jamming. It wasn't even so much of an audition. It was just, we were kind of jamming. And I remember Gary extending his hand, and he just said, "Hey, you're in the band," and I was like, okay, like, it was that kind of thing. And so we just started from there. We were playing all the time. I mean, we were playing 3 to 5 nights a week on Gary's porch.
Wow!
And playing parties, and everything just happened so fast. We had a lot of energy. We were young and not making any excuses for anything at the time.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then, of course, 86, Life of Dreams came out. A couple years later, Beast on My Back Bomb came out, and you guys toured. You toured the States, and got garnished quite a following. Especially the underground scene. We were chatting. You and I were chatting prior to the interview about playing here in Utah at the famous Speedway Cafe back in '88. And then you mentioned you guys, you didn't really remember the show, but you mentioned that you went skating, skateboarding earlier in the day with some local skaters. That was pretty cool.
I don't remember. I don't remember the show so much, but I do remember being in Salt Lake and loving it. It was such a beautiful place, and so vast, And I remember hooking up with some fans and friends, and just making friends that day, and they took us out skating. And I think it was Chris that was with me, maybe Chris Notero, the singer.
Yeah.
And so he, if I may be wrong, but I think it was him, and we hit some empty pool. They took us to some empty pool. We were skating the day away, and I imagine we played the show that night. I mean, again, I don't remember too much. This was 1988, but that's my first experience with Salt Lake City.
Nice. That's cool. So take me back even further. Let's how did you originally get started in music and playing guitar? Did you come from a musical family? Kind of what was the impetus of you becoming a musician?
So I was just always moved by music. My father took me to see the Jackson Five in
Oh wow.
1972. So so that was a great show. That was the first time I ever remember seeing a strobe light or anything, you know, like just a real high energy performance. Um, and so that was inspiring. And we had instruments around the house. We had like one of those two-tier organs with the big bass pedals,
Oh
and
yeah.
I learned some chords and just different things. I mean, we those are the things we did. We didn't have phone, you know, like cell phones back then.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were trying to figure out ways to you know, ways to have fun. And if we weren't outside trying to be evil Knievel, you know,
Right. Exactly.
jumping over garbage cans and what have you. But
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah,
yeah,
that's funny.
yeah,
I in
my
fact
childhood.
it's funny you
Huh?
mentioned that. I knew a kid, he was a little bit older than me in my neighborhood, and he had an Evil Knievel bicycle. It was white
Oh
with
wow.
the stripes, and yeah, and he
Yeah.
literally tried to jump garbage cans and broke both of his legs. I remember watching. I was about 5 years old. I remember
Yeah.
watching him do it. That's funny you bring that up. That just blasted back this memory like right then. Yeah, Matt. His name was Matt. I remember that. And, you know, he had the blonde Dutch boy haircut, and
Yeah.
trying to jump garbage
Wow.
cans. But yeah, that's great. That's so. When did you pick up the
Wow.
guitar? When
Well,
did
you
you?
know, go Matt, man.
Yeah. Sorry. When did you
Yeah.
pick up the guitar? What prompted that?
My cousin lived with us for a while. He was working with my father, and he's 10 years older than me, and he played, and I was just kind of enamored by him as a person. I was very, you know, like looked up to him a lot, and he was a great guy. I don't talk to him much these days, but awesome guy. And and so he decided he was going to help me learn guitar. And the funny thing about him was that he played lefty
Oh,
on a righty guitar, so he played everything upside down.
oh
So that's
wow.
kind of that was my first introduction to learning, you know, like what a D chord or a C chord, all those things. And so he got me going. He kind of got me going. And but you know, I kind of it's may sound weird, but I kind of remember thinking I knew how to play when I really didn't
Hmm.
back then. Um, I just felt like I knew how to play, but I really didn't know how to put it all together, maybe. Um, anyway, that was my attitude. And officially I started on my 14th birthday. That's when my father brought home my first guitar.
Cool.
And so I hit the ground running from there. You know, I just remember being in my room and playing a Led Zeppelin and Kiss and Ted Nugent and just having at it. You know,
Nice.
learning the riffs,
Right.
really going to work learning the riffs. That
As
was a great time.
as you developed playing and you know getting older, and especially those you know once getting into the 80s with the thrash movement and you know kind of more underground music, who were for you, who were the big influences as guitar players who kind of inspired you as a guitar player?
So um, I was definitely moved by Eddie Van Halen. I mean, he was probably the number one. Him and Jimi Hendrix. Hendrix initially, and then Eddie came along. And I remember the first time hearing Eruption, and I was just, you know, it just took me to a whole, like my life. It felt like everything changed at that point, you know. Um, I had never heard anything like that, and I was just so moved by the piece, you know. And then guys like Randy Rhoads came along, Angus Young, shredders like Yngwie Malmsteen. You know, I mean, I was moved by all those guys. Steve Vai, you know, all the heroes of that time.
That's cool. That's cool. I love
Yeah.
that. That's great.
Yeah.
I was curious. So along with I was curious about the the Crumbsuckers history with your playing with them. So of course there were the two albums, and then kind of throughout quite a long period of time up until 2015, I believe. There were various reunion shows and reunion tours
Mhm.
basically, and there was even a at one point, if I understand this correctly, Heavy Rain, kind of a 1 year
Yeah.
little stint where it was basically Crumbsuckers, but kind of more metal than it had been. Was that an
Yeah.
accurate kind of more on the metal side, less on the crossover kind of punk stuff? And I've never heard any of that. I don't know if it was ever recorded or and I know it was kind of short
We
lived.
made some demo. We made some demos with that. After Chris left the band in '88, we did a tour in Europe, and this is when Mark from Carnivore was in the band, and we did a tour of Europe, and we had this guy Joe Haggerty come sing with us. Rest in peace, Joe Haggerty, and we just realized, I think, at that point that it just wasn't the same without Chris, and Joe did a great job, and we had a lot of fun over there, but it just wasn't the same presentation. It wasn't the same ingredients that we were used to having, and so we were writing like crazy. Mostly the writing was coming from Mark Carnivore,
Mm.
and it just seemed like we needed more of a melodic approach, and so we ended up getting a melodic singer, and that's kind of how Heavy Rain happened. We just decided that this was no longer Crumbsuckers. It was Heavy Rain.
Right.
I know a lot of people give us a lot of crap for that, and I don't blame them, but it was a viable thing. I mean, it had a lot of substance to it, and we spent a lot of time working on it, especially musically. And I don't know, I mean, successes and failures. I mean,
Right. Right. Well, I
it's
think it's
part of what makes us.
yeah, and I think any sort of experimentation is important, especially for a musician to, you don't want to get pigeonholed and just kind of stagnant. Yeah, I think it's great to try different things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. So, but I guess it's kind
So,
of life.
so it wasn't like anything that was so methodical that we sat down and had a meeting. And we were like, oh, we have to do this. It
Mm.
was just something that kind of developed through the rehearsals and that tour, and with Joe Haggerty, over in Europe. I mean, those were the things that just kind of helped shape us in that direction for the time. You
Yeah,
know?
interesting. Do you
Yeah.
foresee? Do you think Crumbsuckers will ever do anything again? Do you think there'll ever be another reunion show or?
I'll be honest. I mean, I still talk with those guys, and Gary has propane, and Dan is living the high life, as I understand it, down in. They're all down. Everybody's down in Florida,
Oh,
where I was since 98, 95, 98, and now I'm up here in Maine. And so I don't know. I mean, we still talk as friends. We check in, and the normal stuff, birthday, holidays, and I'm totally open. I mean, I don't to what degree, I have no idea, but I mean, like another reunion at some point. Maybe we did that last one in 2015. Maybe in 2025. 10
yeah,
years
that would be
later.
cool. That would be
I'm
very
open.
nice. Nice.
I'm open.
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean,
You know.
just because it seemed like I don't remember where I read. Yeah, I read somewhere. I think same thing, and I don't remember who it was. One of the other band members. I read it somewhere in an interview or something. I don't even remember, but talking about how you guys are all still fairly close, and there was never
Yeah.
any bad blood, or there was no you just you didn't break up because of a problem. It just kind of had other things going on. So Yeah, so I always kind of hoped that, yeah,
Yeah.
Crumbsuckers would do something else. I also was curious, and I'm pretty sure I asked Baron this, and I probably asked Joe too. I have a terrible memory. Um, with Carnivore AD, and I know I think Baron said, there aren't any plans to ever do like a studio album, but I was curious, do you guys have any thought on doing, recording one of your shows and releasing a live album? I think, I was curious if that's ever come up in conversation.
That is a great question. I mean, for me personally, I am, that doesn't have to happen. I'm pretty happy with these shows. But man, I would totally, if it made sense, if it represented what we're trying to do, representing the legacy of what Pete did and the other guys, then I would be totally. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean,
Yeah.
we could be completely open to the possibilities of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it would just. I'm just saying, it would just have to make sense. It would have to make sense across the board, and and be able to mean something, and represent things in the right way.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking it'd be kind of a cool, I've seen some footage, as I mentioned before. I've seen footage of you guys playing, and it just sounds so great. And so that got my brain thinking, like, oh man, a live album would be really cool, especially for all of those of us that aren't very close to New York and don't have much of a chance of seeing Carnivore AD live. That would be great to hear a live album. So it was curiosity on my part. I was, so what's kind of next on the agenda for you, Chuck, in terms of music? What do you have lined up in the coming months?
Man, I got a lot of stuff cooking right now. And I'm very grateful for the opportunities. Right now I have some friends, I've been asked to do a tour, and it's work, I mean, it's we do what we love. Hopefully we get to do that, but it's work opportunity. And so in May I'm going to tour. We're gonna be in Salt Lake too. We'll be
Cool.
I'll be touring with Christian Death, of all people.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there's some old friends of mine, and so they're getting ready to release a brilliant record, which I just found out recently I happen to be on. So long story short, 10 years ago, I was talking to Valor, and he asked me to record something for him, and I did, and nothing had ever come of it. And anyway, so recently I just found out that the thing that I recorded 10 years ago is on the record today, so coming out next month.
Nice, very cool.
So, yeah. So I'm happy to do that. They have they're playing. Really, the tour was built around a show that they're doing out in California at the Rose Bowl, of all places, the Crew World Fest. And that's something they've been trying. I think that initially they were booked with Bauhaus in 2000, maybe 2-3 years ago, and then that got canceled because of COVID and whenever COVID hit. So it was around that time, and so they built out some dates, we're on the East Coast, so we're gonna drive out and then drive back and play some shows along the way. But that's the primary show. So I think there's a show in Denver, and then there's a show in Salt Lake City.
Cool, very cool.
Yeah,
I will definitely have to check that out. That's exciting. Wow, I didn't even know. I didn't know Christian Death was still doing stuff. That's great.
Oh yeah, very cool. Oh yeah. I think I don't know a lot of details about it, but I think they just re-released like the whole catalog.
Oh, cool.
Through Seasons of Mist.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's just compartmentalized in one place, and it's just like a launch pad for new artwork and everything. Some of all those old great songs that people love.
Yeah, that's great. Very cool.
My wife is pretty excited about it.
Yeah,
she's a big fan. So.
Oh, nice. That's exciting. Yeah. That's really cool. Right. Is she going to come on tour? Or is she going to join you, or
No,
no?
she's gonna watch the two little Rugrats we got
Okay.
at home.
That is exciting news, though. And
Yeah.
any upcoming shows with Carnivore AD at this point?
So right after that, that's in May, and I think the last show is in Brooklyn on the 29th of May, and then I'll come home for a couple days, and then we have the third in at Dingbats with Carnivore AD.
Oh, okay.
And then we're playing. Oh man, those guys are gonna kill me if they hear this. Connecticut, yeah, the Cherry Street Station.
Okay.
That's on the 4th. It's a Saturday night. So the 3rd and the 4th, and then we may book one more show. We're waiting to hear back on that. That's Sunday, the 5th. And then we play. Man, we just got asked to play, and we agreed to do it. The 18th. The Pure Filth Festival with Exodus and Voivod in
Cool.
Syracuse, New York. Yeah, that's going to be great.
Yeah, that sounds like a great show.
Yeah, we're excited with that. And I have to say, I mean, you're at, I've been doing stuff with Paris Mayhew from Agros too, originally from Crumbsuckers.
Oh yeah.
So he's doing an EP. I don't know if you've seen. He's done all those videos. Well, 2 so far.
That's right. Yeah.
And so he's asked me to play on some of his stuff, and I've been playing some solos, and we're just, kind of reconnecting as friends. There's been a little bit of a gap from the old days, but we're back in touch. I just did with this Typo Negative show. After the show at Dark Side of the Con, I left and I went to meet him in Brooklyn, and we did some filming for a video for him. So I did a solo, and he wanted to film it, and so I came and met him.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, Crumbsuckers and Chromax you guys used to play together quite a bit, right?
We did.
Back in the day?
Oh yeah.
That's cool. That's exciting. Yeah. That's really cool. Wow, I love that.
Probably one of the most alarmingly good shows I ever saw was the Chromax record release party for Age of Quarrel at CBGB's 85, 86.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Incredible. Incredible. I mean, if you can imagine, I mean, that, the only thing I could say about CB's is, and the system was probably too loud for the room, but it was pleasantly loud. Nice. If you follow me.
Yes.
It was just like, it was so loud. It was just like, did something else to your whole psyche, man. It just took you to another place, and just incredible. Incredible. Chromax was probably the best show I ever saw there.
Wow. Well, and it's cool that you've reconnected with Paris and that you guys are working together. That's great. I'm excited to hear that.
Carnivore AD is my primary band, and then I do what I can to stay busy, and it's kind of hard to say no to some of these guys,
I would imagine.
Yeah. Anyway, and then as far as with regard to Paris, there is a show, I think, July 8th or 9th, maybe the 10th, somewhere around that time, in Philadelphia at the Hardcore Fest. So we're going to do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's fantastic. Yeah. That's exciting stuff. Well, Chuck, this has been a true pleasure chatting with you today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. You too, man.
For everybody watching this, please look at the description below, and you'll see links to Carnivore AD. So if you have not heard them, check that out. What a great band! So much talent in that band, and just
thank you.
Great guys. All all three of you are just such great guys. So anyway, again, thank you, Chuck, so much. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you, brother.
Have a great weekend.
All right, you too, Victor.